Ron Hubbard, the founder of Dianetics and Scientology, was probably the first out with information about between lives implant stations and erasure of memory. In many ways, he was a pioneer and revealed things which to many seemed ridiculous at the time, but later was found to hold water, and some of what we now perceive as truth originated from him. With that said, I also want to emphasize that he was certainly not always right, and some of the stuff seems very dated and invalid today. But like with most researchers, even those who have proven to be disinformation agents, there's always some good information to discover. I try never to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Hubbard talked about the Between Lives area on several occasions, but this excerpt from his book, A History of Man, written in 1952, of course, not many people know the nomenclature of Scientology, so here's some definitions which might help the reader understand the quote that follows. Pre-clear, a person who is under Scientology processing, working him or herself up to the state of clear, which is a certain level when the person is free from his or her reactive mind, which is normally running our lives. A clear is someone whom, after certain levels of training and auditing, can make more rational decisions without being affected by his or her past reactions to situations. Auditing, when a pre-clear is in session, normally with an auditor, one who listens and go through certain preset procedures which will eventually make the pre-clear clear. Except in certain Dianetics procedures, an e-meter electrometer is used to detect reactions to certain questions asked by the auditor. It works similar to a lie detector. Restimulation, when a past, often traumatic or negative incident is triggered in a person, and she reacts to something happening in the present as if it was the same incident in the past. Earlier events' effect is today, and we are often not aware of that this is the case. MEST, matter, energy, space, and time. This is the Scientology term for the physical universe. Phaeton, theta, being, Scientology term for soul or spirit. Bank, term for memory bank, or more specifically, the context of the reactive mind, which is the mind that is addressed in Dianetics, the mind containing hidden memories from traumatic incidents in the past. When the reactive mind is erased, the pre-clear becomes clear. Keying in, a moment of trauma stemming from the reactive mind gets in restimulation and the person experiences negative emotions, sometimes pain or any emotion reaction which is contained in the bank relating to the incident that was keyed in. Overt act, destructive act towards oneself or others, also including material things, animals and plants, the physical universe or the soul of self or others. Track or time track, the linear time of the genetic entity, which is the body. Facsimiles, mental image pictures. To run, this means to process or to audit. Ron Hubbard. Between lives. At death, the theta being leaves the body and goes to the between lives area. Here he reports in, is given a strong 4-jetter implant and is then shot down to a body just before it is born. At least that is the way the old invader in the Earth area was operating. The implant is very interesting. The pre-clear is seated before a wheel which contains numbers of pictures. As the wheel turns, these pictures go away from him. He is moved aside to the right, the left, the back. A mirror arrangement shows him still sitting there before the pictures. A forescreen hits him through the pictures. The pictures dim out. The whole effect is to give him the impression that he has no past life, that he is no longer the same identity, that his memory has been erased. The forescreen flattens his own vitality, thus invalidating his existence, thus installing, by force alone, a 4-jetter. The pictures, by the way, are simply generalized views, stills of vacant lots, houses, backyards of a recent Earth period, and they could apply to anybody. They're not the facsimiles of the pre-clear. The incident contains such force that the pre-clear, at first quite closely in contact, runs it willingly. As the force cuts down his past identity, he begins to disbelieve the incident, then himself. If left in restimulation, he has a difficult time remembering things for some days. Gradually through a lifetime, this between lives incident keys in. At first it engulfs childhood, then later and later years. Finally, with age, the pre-clear starts to cycle through it automatically and goes into his second childhood, which is to say he anticipates the coming implant, conceives it to have done if he lives beyond a normal lifespan for him. If it usually happened that he died at 60, should he now live to 70, he will get a feeling in the last 10 years that it has been done to him, a routine time restimulation effect. Pre-clears do not always report. To have been implanted once is to get a restimulation on dying, which will wipe out the past life. Some pre-clears have 1, some have 5, some more of these implants. The life-to-life forgetter would follow as a natural course of events from the fact that the pre-clear identifies himself and is identified by others as a mess body. Further, he identifies everyone else as a mess body. Also, he would rather start, if he must be a mess body, with a clean slate and a new body. Also, he has many overt acts of convincing others they should forget their entire pasts, for by that he can train them for a better future for him. No implant would ever succeed unless there was a natural cause and reason for the implant to magnify. The report area for most has been Mars. Some women report to stations elsewhere in the solar system. There are occasional incidents about Earth report stations. The report stations are protected by screens. The last Martian report station on Earth was established in the Pyrenees. Entities have between-life incidents independent of the Thetan. These are not necessary to run. There are many types of between lives earlier on the track, about 10 different periods of the entire track being devoted to a practice of keeping a Thetan in a body, working, and in an area. These show up as second facsimiles and are not necessary to run. But the data is there in the secondary banks, and it is very wonderful data on how to keep races enslaved. What is interesting with the above quote is that it was written in 1952.